Welcome to Modern Mondays with Portland Paper. Thanks for tuning in. We have a very special match one. Our very own Travis Cooper, who is normally on the mic, is actually going to be in our feature match today. And with me in the booth today, I have.
Brendan Albano.
So, Brendan, thoughts on the matchup?
Well, the Spirits, the Jeskai got some burn to start picking apart the Lord team. I'm not super familiar with the difference between Azorius Spirits and the Bant Spirits. I guess no green cards.
Right, so we won't have any collected companies, so we'll have to see if Jared can take advantage of possibly having a few less sources of kind of big card advantage. Oh, it looks like Jared may have left something at his previous spot, so we're just checking back over before we get things going.
But for any sort of tribally, potentially aggro deck, there's always the possibility of them just running over control before the control can get going.
Right. Spirits, especially the Azorius Spirits, oftentimes does play the flash spirit that gives Shroud. Name help, chat? Oh, okay. Okay. Looks like we are going to have a different deck. We had the wrong person. We will actually be looking at Mono Red Prowess against Jeskai Control. I actually think this matchup might be a touch more difficult for Travis. I imagine he is probably still playing for Lightning Helix.
Yeah, Lightning Helix, Snapcaster, Lightning Helix is the way out, right?
Correct. So I do think that I like Travis's matchup as Jeskai Control against this Mono Red Prowess deck more than I would like the Blue White Control matchup against this deck.
And it's the Mono Red Prowess, not Mono Red Phoenix, so doesn't have the single big nut draw explosive turn that the Phoenix deck has, but less vulnerable to the random grave hate that we all have to live with in this Hogak world.
Right. Jared mentioned he's playing kind of the Ryan Overturf version that did really well recently in the Grand Prix. I believe it was Grand Prix Minneapolis. So no Phoenixes in this list, notably. And it looks like he's got some very nice old Ice Age Snow basics.
Classic.
Tosses out the Swift Spear, gets in for one. Travis down to 18 after the fetch. And a Hollowed Fountain dropped into play.
What do you think is Travis's best start?
I think Travis is basically just trying to get away with not dealing himself a ton of damage from his mana base, and I'm sure he would have loved to have a Colonnade turn one. And it looks like Travis is just getting a basic mountain, so he actually should be. Travis mentioned 21, but I believe he should be at 20 here. Travis, a big fan of the various full art spells. I believe he has full art cryptics.
That's
as
pretty
well.
fun.
But not full art lands. He's an old land connoisseur.
We got some black borders. Can't see how round those corners are, but maybe a beta mountain.
It's actually an Arabian Nights
Arabian.
mountain.
Oh, can't see. That's much fancier.
Yeah.
That is much fancier.
Yeah. He's got fancy. In his Jeskai cards, he's got fancy taste. Looks like 2 looting, so Jared's spinning his wheels a little bit. It always feels bad in this deck to be casting lootings without a prowess creature on the battlefield. You kind of feel like you're both wasting your turn and you're just like straight up going down cards. He may be able to recoup this advantage with a Bedlam Reveler later.
He has a very full graveyard, so
Yeah, obviously going to want to get there before Travis gets to Cryptic Mana. Because there aren't that many things that can bait out a Cryptic from Travis at this point. Let's just showcase an upgrade for this deck in Sunbaked Canyon. And tosses out a Swift Spear. The fact that Travis has made it to turn 3 and is still, well, I guess now going down to 19, looks really promising for Travis.
I'm going to force him to pump.
So unclear to me whether this is in combat or post-combat. I imagine that Travis would have done this post-combat.
That would make sense. Yeah, because he wanted to.
It's kind of like playing against Infect. You just don't want to. Looks like just a quick error of Jared seeing too many cards there, so they're just going to shuffle and he's going to get a redraw here. We are at a regular REL event here, so just trying to keep things moving and not be too harsh in our punishments. Travis checking on Crash Through, which is 1 mana, give your creatures trample and draw a card. And Jared does have a Bedlam Reveler in hand.
It's always neat when a deck, because of the rest of its construction, can play what otherwise seems like a terrible card like Crash Through to good effect. I always find that exciting when you can make use for a generically sort of medium or bad card.
Absolutely, and Jared's kind of able to force Travis's hand here. He's emptying his hand, but he still has the Bedlam Reveler to re-up, so not only is he just hit for 3, his Swift Spears both have 1 Prowess trigger, so he's coming in for 4 additional. Travis will toss out a path, and I am very sure that Jared has plenty of mountains to find. Don't think Travis will be able to run Jared out of mountains, no matter how many times he...
The surprise green splash for running 6 even would take a lot of Ghost Quarters to make that happen.
Yes.
What do you think Travis's big play this turn is? To just hold up for Cryptic? No.
So if he's got a Walker, looks like maybe Snap Helix. I'm a little surprised that Jared didn't drop the Bedlam Reveler. I can see that I guess he's wanting to avoid a Wrath effect, so not wanting to run himself into that. And fortunately for him, Travis taps out on main phase, so he'll actually be able to resolve Reveler relatively easily here. I know Travis is a big fan of Force of Negation, and that card won't do anything in this situation.
Playing out his cards. There it is.
There's a Reveler. So this is the draw here is extremely important. If Jared can chain Revelers, he's got a real chance in this game. But if he hits, like, for example, a couple lands and mostly air, it's going to be tough sledding for him.
Did he have 2 Bedlam Revelers in hand? Did you catch that?
I thought that was 2 Soulscar Mages, but
okay.
chat may have seen otherwise. So Travis with the answer, and the hallmark of a good Jeskai player starting to get in on his own here. Knocks Jared down. Jeskai is this great balance of where blue-white controls kind of waiting way late in the game to get in damage. Jeskai can kind of turn things around and burn the opponent out if they get too low fairly easily. So we'll see how conservative Jared is here with emptying his hand. I imagine you want to present at least 2 creatures here. There's the 2 Soul Scars. Looks like a Lava Dart as well in hand. I can get quite a few triggers. I would.
Does Soul Scar Maid do not have haste?
It does not.
Okay, right.
It puts -1/-1 counters
Right,
on
right,
things
right.
when you damage. Travis comes in and the dart goes for the Snapcaster. I 100% agree with that play. I think it's a good choice by Jared. And Travis follows up with a verdict. So Travis is currently staying ahead of Jared. Looks like Travis with a couple cards in hand. So again, can Jared re-up? If he can find another Reveler and re-up, then things keep going. But if Travis is able to drop a Walker next turn, then things get out of hand really quickly.
Or even if just he keeps the board clear and his big scary land can start attacking.
Right, yeah, Colonnade can start getting in there. There is some risk in that this Prowess deck does play a number of hasty threats, and Travis at this point sitting on only 5 mana. He'd have to draw one more to activate Colonnade, and then he'd be tapped out except for the Colonnade itself. So, not necessarily the right time, but I guess we'll see what Travis thinks. Looks like Narset. Travis has actually been talking to me about how he's a big fan of this card, even in Modern as it currently stands.
I mean, what Jared needs to do right now is draw a bunch of cards, so.
Travis flashes his unluck there. Manages to see 3 lands and a Snapcaster, none of which are cards you can take with Narset. This will, however, blank a Bedlam Reveler.
And that seems like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, unless Jared has a Bolt or some other interesting. So, I almost would have, if Jared's got a really good plan here to get, okay, this makes sense.
Just going for it.
Getting a Spectacle on Light Up the Stage. Sees the Reveler. Is he going to be baited into casting this Reveler? Here's the thing is now, again, this Reveler, it's still a 3/4 Prowess, so it's not bad, but he's not going to get to re-up here.
He would have to...
Nope. Isn't that a draw trigger? There we go. So it looks like we'll be calling a judge over here. Yep.
That's the typical.
Yep.
I forgot about Narset's static ability, like anyone does a million billion times. He just drew 3 cards. He hasn't scored or anything. Yeah. He had no cards in hand. So we know these are the top cards of the library. You haven't scryed at all. Then let's just go ahead and shuffle the library.
So the judge, similar to our solution earlier, they're just going to go ahead and shuffle the deck. Bedlam Reveler can still be cast here. There's just not going to be any draw that comes off of it. A lot of these newer Planeswalkers, I notice, Karn and Narset, and Teferi just get you. Like, it can be very difficult to remember that these passive effects exist. You're just used to thinking about this with enchantments, but not as much with Planeswalkers.
Right.
Huh, looks like Jared's maybe doing it the hard way here.
He does have a lot of mountains.
So he puts Travis off an activation, which is good, and he probably does not need this many lands. I might have saved those darts for if Travis was able to present a blocker and to pump his Bedlam Reveler, as he's missing out on a good amount of damage if Travis just decides to animate.
But I guess he's attacking Narset anyway, so it doesn't.
Right.
But yeah, yeah.
But if Travis animates the Colonnade and decided to block. Okay, so we get the Reveler, and Travis does have the Cryptic. Counter draw is the mode. Another maybe slight misstep there. may have been better for Jared to play the mountain that he had exiled with Light Up the Stage rather than the one from hand. He was expecting to discard it from Reveler, but of course the Reveler got countered, so he would have an additional mountain in hand. It's kind of small things that can occasionally make a difference in a matchup like this. Any of these go long grindy matchups.
Right, and you can like start to establish little rules for yourself, like always play the land from Light Up the Stage, even if you can't think about, even if you can't come up with a reason why it makes sense. It basically never doesn't make sense to play the land from Light Up the Stage.
I believe that's a good heuristic. I'm not 100%, but
I'm sure you could come up with a scenario where that was not the right choice, but
if chat can come up with a scenario where you're not supposed to play the land from Light Up the Stage. Actually, you know what? I do notice in Standard with Experimental Frenzy, there's times where it's actually not the right choice. Because sometimes you need to get through a land off the top of your deck
oh
to
sure,
get to cards after that.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, so Travis has decided we're at the point where Colonnade beats are in order. Comes in for 4. And passes. Jared's in top deck mode with a mono red deck, which is not exactly where you want to be. I believe we're through 3 Bedlam Revelers total on Jared's side, so he's got 1 more sitting somewhere in that deck, but imagine he's relatively threat light at this point. The Prowess creatures are also they're pretty weak when you don't really have spells to pump them up, so I definitely think Travis is in a good spot.
He's got to, depending on what else is in his hand, he has to start to be careful once Jared has enough cards in his hand to potentially burn him out.
Yeah. So it looks like we're seeing a Burst Lightning with Kicker.
Opting with the attacking Colonnade is a pretty heads up move.
Yeah. Let's take a look at Burst Lightning. Looks like we can pay 5 to deal 4 damage. What a deal. But it works, and the Colonnade is taken down.
Is that a card that this list runs like 1 or 2 of or something, or is it a...
It's a good question. I am not sure.
Chat.
I'm kind of pretty mad on that card, so I hope it's only like a 1 to a 2 of. I mean, you know, 4 damage for 5 mana. Like, I guess you're doing something if you flood hardcore, but it seems pretty unimpressive to me.
Jared has to draw some very specific things in the right order to dig out of this one, it seems like.
Yeah, it's possible Travis might even be able to survive long enough to just run Jared out of cards. Looks like Jared's at 6, Travis at 13 here. Tosses out the Lava Spike. Another situation, I might have held on to the Lava Spike there and just paid full price for the Light Up the Stage. I just feel like Jared's going to have to get in damage every possible place that he can.
I mean, Reveler into, you know, bolt. Gets pretty close.
Right. He might, you know, it could come down to the 1 additional Prowess trigger from having that Lava Spike next turn on the Reveler.
That's a good point, yep. Right, because if you have to use one of your spells to kill the blocker, and then...
I mean, this is a good way to draw it up. Jared definitely putting Travis to the test here. Yeah, Dracula mentioning kind of what we were mentioning. I'm sure there's also, you know, maybe some reason that it can take out
kills
a
thing in the ice.
Yeah.
Anything that does 4 damage always has the it kills thing in the ice
right.
factor.
4 does seem to be a magic number. Jared has a crash through here, which is huge. I suppose not as big in that he can't. The Reveler's not going to be able to attack this turn. And we've got 2 Prowess triggers on the Swift Spear.
A few.
A few. That is a big graveyard.
It's an important moment.
It's
I
good
think,
to ask those questions. That's a good lesson.
yeah, and you know, you can always ask for your opponent's graveyard as well too. Travis decides to play it safe and block here. Leads me to believe maybe he's just sitting on another Wrath effect in hand. Or maybe just really worried about getting burned out. He does have the Colonnade, and I believe Jared is at 5, so I mean, he can get real close here. Put Jared to 1, but he might die on the crackback. Okay, we're coming in with the Colonnade.
But if Jared's scared of Bolt or something, he might have to block.
Jared goes to 1.
Oh, okay.
This is... Travis has got to have something here. Maybe he's planning on burning Jared out in response.
Jared was tapped out, so I don't think there was any reason not to do it on Travis's turn.
That's a good point.
The chicken game of if you both have lethal burn in hand, though, is a thing.
Right, but I agree that if, you know, Travis being or Jared being tapped out, there's not really any reason not to. Maybe sitting on a path. It's Travis down to 7. It's 1 Prowess trigger, and that's it.
Oh, he got him.
Travis is going to scoop up the cards here. Wow, I really thought that Travis had stabilized. There were a couple moments in that game that I think were critical. Travis, I think, felt like he was out of the woods and started brainstorming with Jace. I wonder if had he decided to plus Jace and tick up instead, maybe that Jace would have.
He didn't have it. It was Narset.
He actually did have Jace in play.
Oh, did I just totally miss that?
Yeah, it just didn't last long. I believe it was like a brainstorm.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I must have looked away for but a second.
Yeah. Actually, excuse me. It looks like Jared got that one. Wow.
I think that shows the potential of, you know, a bunch of light up the stages and a bunch of Bedlam Revelers to let a aggro burn deck grind a lot longer than you think it does.
Yeah, this is something we've seen from Wizards kind of recently where they've given these archetypes kind of like ways of staying in the game that just never used to exist, you know. It's like if you were playing red decks before, it was like you throw out all your little creatures and, you know, toss out all your bolts, and if you ran out of stuff, that was it. But they've given them all sorts of ways between Experimental Frenzy and Bedlam Reveler and Season Pyromancer. They're just giving red decks so many ways to re-up.
And it's a different than the old way a red deck has to come out, you know, that if you look at an old card like Fire Blast, which, you know, you sacrifice 2 lands to deal 4 damage, so let's like a aggro or burn deck have the reach to finish the game if it's their like last card and they can make it there, which Wizards might see as a less fun mechanic. Then the ability to grind a little bit, because the surprise free spell you lose can lead to. So there's all sorts of ways to, you know, not have fun in Magic, but I think that at least Mark Rosewater on his blog talks a lot about designing cards that, you know, create more fun gameplay experiences. So, you know, I think Light Up the Stage is a more fun card than Fire Blast. Even though as a red player, like, I wish I could play Fire Blast in Modern. That'd be dope.
So what do you think Travis takes out here? What is he looking to bring in?
Well, you know, removal, and life gain.
Right. And so he's probably playing with something like Celestial Purge, I imagine, is a card that he could bring in. He probably also has access to Timely Reinforcements, which is a slam dunk in this matchup.
Crash Through helps a little bit against armies of chump blockers, but it might not help enough.
Right. On Jared's side, I would consider taking out the Lava Darts, looking to play more impactful cards. I think some number of Blood Moons is correct in this matchup. I don't think Blood Moon is like the knockout punch that it could be, and it's possible that this Overturf list doesn't even play Blood Moons, as you know, the poor Blood Moon just hasn't been been what it used to be.
Playing Blood Moon on turn 3 feels real slow.
Yeah. I never thought I'd say. Actually, I definitely would say poor Blood Moon. I like me a good. I like me a good
I played, yeah, I'm into it.
Blood Moon somebody out of the
Yep,
game.
yep. I played Ruination in a Commander game the other day and got a lot of dirty looks, and I felt real good about it.
I don't know if I'd do it in Commander. That's a bold move, but
Every once in a while, you know, you put it in the deck, you play it once, everyone hates you, you take it out of the deck for a while, let people cool down, and wait for them to forget.
So, of note, we are at, let me fix the clock, 18:30 on the clock, and we're just at game 2. So, we're moving right along here. Is the thing with these super grindy matchups is it can't, in a 45-minute round, it can be difficult to finish.
Yeah, Travis will have to win twice now in 18 minutes, and as a control deck, that can be kind of hard.
Okay, Travis tossing out the bolt here. He very intelligent by Travis here. He did not see gut shot this last game, and if I were Jared, I would have boarded gut shots out also. So Lava Dart is maybe the only possible response here, and Jared's gonna have to 2-for-1 himself.
Yeah, squeezing them on lands when they're not expecting it might slow them down enough.
I mean, it is gonna hit Travis 2, 3. I believe we get hit for 3 from the Swift Spear. Couple prowess triggers in there. So well orchestrated by Travis. Had the backup plan in place. Looks like Travis is himself at 11.
Jared's still coming out swinging pretty hard despite all of the removal.
Yep. It's 2 solid cards to see off the flip here. Manamorphose.
Gives you a lot of options next turn.
Obviously a freebie. Interested to see if Travis is playing any copies of Spell Snare. It's a pretty good feeling to Spell Snare a Manamorphose. Really throws a wrench in what these prowess decks are trying to do.
I like Jared's attempt to X playing against the control deck, you know.
Yeah.
It's real. It's a bit of a defeatist phrasing, but you know, maybe realistic.
Yeah.
You want to let them know you know you're playing into it, so you know they don't think they got you, but it's on your terms.
Huh. So yeah, again, Travis just decides to brainstorm with Jace. So I guess he feels like if Jared's having to toss cards at Jace to get it off the board, that he's just going to run away with it.
I mean, you know, although it didn't necessarily work last time, the 2-for-1 makes sense. If you get to brainstorm and then they spend a card to kill it that doesn't go at you, that's good value.
I feel like you should be so greedy with Jace, and you should just get all the value. Just drive your opponent into the ground. Travis is going to fetch and path. Players have done this dance before.
Travis also busting out more of his cool lands.
Yeah. He sticks with an art for a long time. I kind of cycle through various old arts in my decks, but I don't think I've seen any lands but these from him quite some time. He's hit another Helix there, and it looks like a timely as well.
Have we gotten a peek at Jared's hand at all?
Not really.
When we get really fancy, we'll get like behind the shoulder cameras.
It looks like he has relatively few cards, maybe 2. And Travis has an active Jace and a Snapcaster, so I think this game is basically over.
Chat wants to know who our casters are tonight. My name is Brendan. I'm filling in for Travis, who's the regular caster, so he can play.
Yep, Travis wanted to get in on the action this evening, so we have Brendan and myself, Ian Lunger, the producer. I got to play last week.
Bogdan's not listening, so I don't know if what we just said is meaningful to him or her.
Oh. Well, let's
tell Bogdan who we are so they can know without listening.
Did I spell your name right?
You nailed it.
Okay.
Okay, we're doing the count the lava darts activity again.
Always a fun one. Count the darts.
Have you at 6? Yeah. Attempt to cast Reveler. Felix in that spot.
Okay.
Targeting me? Yeah. Okay. I'm at 11. You're at 9. That's the result.
Travis is up to 9.
And it looks like Jared says he's at 11, but he resolves the Reveler. So that's big. I mean, I don't think it's going to be good enough to get through an active Teferi and an active Jace and a Snapcaster, but it's kind of an interesting spot. Jared can win the game fairly quickly, so he's not necessarily incentivized to speed this game up. Travis, on the other hand, is likely going to take a bit to win the next game, so he's very incentivized to keep this game moving quickly and to close things out in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, if you don't play at shops a lot and you play at your kitchen table, I feel like the clock adds a dynamic to the game that is just like totally different than when you're playing without a time limit. And like in a lot of matches, it doesn't come up, but when it does come up, it's very surprising if you haven't been thinking about it for the whole 45 or 50 minutes.
Right. This is my favorite. It just builds a lot of suspense. The old hold the card up and then gently let it fall. So Travis has actually mentioned he quite likes the sideboard monastery mentor. Another way to quickly close out games.
And requires a lot of bookkeeping that gets very confusing if he can chain a couple spells together.
Yeah.
Because it makes tokens and the tokens have prowess.
Right. The nice part is you can kind of go back through the prowess and figure out, because they're like stair steps. The
Yes,
tokens
right.
are as
Yes,
far
yes,
as how
that's
the
true.
prowess has affected them. So
I might have overstated the complexity a little bit. That's fair. It's not that hard.
Travis is going to get in for 2 and Helix, while the Helixing is good for 3, grab a monk and go up to 12. I mean, Jared does have 4 cards in hand. I just cannot see him beating this board state.
Unless it's literally bolt, 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 bolt.
I think Travis might even have another Helix in hand. I mean, Jared's doing what he can. He is chaining things. That mentor is doing a nice job of hiding behind Jared's library. It's just like just wants to survive long enough to get its own prowess. It's true, yeah. Math is definitely for blockers. It's way more fun to just toss everything out there and make your opponent do the math. It makes you look like a fool sometimes, but, you know, we all look like fools sometimes in Magic, so it's probably worth it. Of note, Travis is not cracking the Scalding Tarn here on end step. Okay, does decide to crack the Scalding Tarn on end step.
It opens him up to a slightly different combination of burn spells, but Travis doesn't feel like that's going to change the clock here because he has so many tools with his giant board of tokens that he's about to have and all that.
Looks like he pulls an opt off the top. Looks like a Narset, a Timely Reinforcements, an opt, and something else in Travis's hand. He's going to bounce the creature in the writings on the wall. Travis takes game 2. And we get to see a third game.
Polite of Jared to scoop, too.
Yeah, I think
you could run out the clock if you were being really mercenary on it.
Yeah, you can make Travis do some bookkeeping, but I don't think anybody's playing here on Monday to
people are good sports.
Yeah. So it looks like players are not going to the boards before game 3. I think when you've got the extra time, I'll 100% grab my sideboard out, shuffle a couple cards in, take the same cards out, even if even if I don't plan on doing anything. But when the clock's a factor, players want to get their matches done, have a clear winner and a loser here, so it's not worth the extra time. Travis's tattoo. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get it wrong now. It's It's a mayfly. It's a caddisfly. It's a rock fly.
What's the
He's gonna kill me later.
what's the
He's, like,
story
told
behind it?
me
Maybe we can
it's
suss
one
it
of
out.
those fly. It's an important fly fishing fly that exists in Oregon or something like that.
That was not the piece of information that was going to help me out and
Oh,
guess which
well,
one it was. So
you know,
I got
chat.
nothing.
Do we have any fly fisher men or women in chat? Any fly fisher people?
Fly fish people we're also interested in hearing from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, merfolk players. Flying merfolk players. So, Travis shocks in the hollowed fountain and then doesn't do anything to the soul scar? Interesting. Both players playing the dance here. Maybe Travis felt like the bluff was worth it?
Or is he going to...
Maybe he's going to opt at end step?
Or path it instead? I don't know. Because it wasn't like he took a lot of damage from the soul scar.
Yeah.
No, he just...
He does have a path in hand, but I'm not sure if he just drew that.
Maybe he just didn't think now was the right time. I don't know.
Interesting. So Jared's letting a lot of these cards go if he tosses out that Swift Spear. I would have been inclined to just juice the value out of all of those cards, but Jared's line may actually end up getting in more damage, as he's definitely sniffed out the path in Travis's hand. Take the Soul Scar. Ooh, he takes the Swift Spear, so wants to... Okay, there we go. Yeah, the only reason I could see doing this Swift Spear over the Soul Scar is if you maybe thought you were going to end up taking a line where you bounced with Jace. Or I guess if you might tuck with Teferi. There are a couple valid reasons. Looks like Travis going to 12 here.
Nuglo in chat has a good point that maybe there's having the opportunity to path but not pathing maybe encourages Jared to save his spells because he's worried about trying to get a bunch of prowess triggers and then just getting pathed and not getting the full value out of them.
I mean, it's possible, but you take two
damage,
so that's two spells worth of, yeah. Pimar noting that he lost to Travis the other day. Haven't we all?
What were you playing, Pimar?
Alright, get the Dovin's veto on the light up the stage. Just dueling promos. That's a good one to hit. Jared's taking a bit of pain from that Sunbaked Canyon. Decides to leave off from what he was initially thinking he'd do.
There it is. Spellstare the Metamorphose.
That's the play. It's definitely one of those plays that feels very like it's a very big swing when it happens. Spell Snare is just one of those kind of like feel bad cards. It's always feel bad one way or the other. You either have it in your hand and you can't hit anything with it, or you hit something and the other person's like, oh, I spent the one mana to get rid of my 2 mana thing. Light up the stage. Looks like we're going to see Snap, Dovin's Veto. Takes
Crash
one.
through just to draw a card.
Yeah. Jared's getting low here. I definitely agree with that play. I think realizing that they basically are going to need to resolve a Reveler or something else like that to re-up here. Fires off the lava dart at the Snapcaster. It's a tough decision to make in a spot like this. I think oftentimes the game's not like the game's more about Jared drawing enough gas to kill Travis than it is like Travis beating Jared down with a 2-1.
Right, and to kill Travis when he thinks he's safe to tap out too.
Right.
So like having as much
Right, and now he's
at your disposal.
only got 2 mountains left. That said, you know, Mentor does kind of change things. It's like Travis is at 4, so I mean, it's definitely winnable. It looks like Travis pulled a Helix off the top, which is huge here. Jared to 12, Travis up to 7. Sitting
There's the
on
Blood Moon.
a monk token. Travis with the improper token, will note. Love you, Travis. That is not the right. Oh, and draws the basic island off the top.
Ooh.
Rough.
Oh no.
It's like he gets to toss out the Teferi. Just, just the rude basic island off the top.
Well, the man hasn't gotten to play at Modern Monday in a while because he's always streaming. So drawing the rude basic, and to defeat the Blood Moon seems okay.
Nice.
Seems like he earned it.
A nice sportsman-like handshake to finish things off, and leaves us with 2 minutes and 44 seconds on the clock. That was a good set of games. Nice to see kind of the swinging back and forth. I really thought Jared was out of game 1 way earlier, and somehow managed to chain through, I believe, all 4 Bedlam Revelers ultimately to make it back and close out the game. And a couple of scares for Travis, if not for a couple timely top decks. You know, may have dropped that game 3 as well.
Yeah. Despite Travis having a continual stream of interaction, he stabilized at a very small amount of life both times. So.
Well, chat, we're looking about 2 minutes left in round, so not enough time to grab another match. We are going to leave you with the sultry tones of Lex Butera Smith and myself as we grab a quick beverage and prepare for round 2.